Live.
Hey guys, thanks for joining today. Remember, we go live every Saturday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Of course, it's me, it's my co-host, Brian the Beast Robinson. And today's guest, we got Orned Chicken Gabriel, martial arts master. He's going to tell you basically his martial arts history, all kinds of cool stories, and of course, how he got that nickname Chicken. So, Chicken, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Blessed by God.
Good deal.
Yes, sir.
Let's start off with that name because that's an interesting nickname, especially for a martial artist, one that you wouldn't think most people would want. Chicken.
Oh, it's been a blessing too.
Really?
Yes, it has.
Well, how so? I think you got picked on a lot as a kid, maybe, with that nickname.
Well, I did. That's how I got involved in martial arts, fighting at the park. And that's how I met Jim Kelly. Because I got in a fight at the park and people picked on me. I was smaller. My name was Chicken, so they would put last name to the name Chicken, like Chicken, S-H-I, and you complete the sentence.
Oh.
And so I would end up having fights because of my name. And, I ended up going to Jim Kelly's class, and he told me, that I needed to get some discipline. And so I joined this class and tried to change my life because I was headed in the wrong direction.
Okay, real quick, just to start off though, like how did you get that nickname Chicken?
My mom, Billy Nelson, gave me that name. When I was a baby, she said I used to cry like a chicken when I was a baby. And so it stuck with me ever since. When I went to elementary school, the teachers started calling me Chicken, junior high school, and high school also. And so it kind of stuck with me.
Okay, let's talk about, though, how did you run into Jim Kelly exactly? Like, did you just look up local dojos in the area, or did he find you somehow because you were getting beat up in the park, or what?
Yeah, I was fighting one of his students in the park, and I used to box with Archie Moore, ABC. Anybody can, or all boys can, boxing gym. Archie Moore was the light heavyweight champion of the world then, and my dad knew him, and so I got involved in the boxing realm with Hedgeman Lewis, Dad Spencer, a lot of boxers and stuff, and so I had a. Are you there?
Hey, Gary, what's up, man? We see your steering wheel.
Yeah, why? Why's it doing that?
Because that's where your camera's pointing, dude.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, we can see you now, man.
You can flip the screen up top.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, we can see you. Hey, guys, by the way, this is Grandmaster Gary Henry Amon. He got me in contact with Chicken. Gary's a great guy. He knows so many amazing martial artists. And, hey, real quick, how did you guys meet? You and Chicken.
Oh, I met Chicken many, many years ago. I trained some of his students. His students came over to my school, and they told me about Chicken, and I saw him competing in the tournaments. This guy's amazing martial artist. I saw him perform back in the 70s, 80s. I love Chicken. He's incredible. And, and then we became close friends later on. And then later on, he came to my dad's funeral. He actually honored my dad's funeral. He did my blessing for my dad when he passed away. And I took Chicken to Los Angeles to see Bob Wall. And we hang out with Bob Wall and a lot of stuff. But no, I've been to Chicken's studio where he done testings. I've been to where he done tournaments. I know this guy for an incredible long time. And Jim Kelly, who I personally know, and that's his teacher, it was amazing. And the guys that he trained, like Nasty Anderson and everybody else, Chicken's a great martial artist, and he has a big heart.
Yeah, and we're honored to have him on today. Let's get that story, though, Chicken. So when did you officially start training in martial arts with Jim Kelly?
I started at 15 years of age, and I got in an encounter with one of his students. As I was saying, I used to box, and I had an encounter with one of the students, and You know, in the hood, we usually take it to the gym when you have encounters. We don't shoot each other like they do today, but we take it in the gym and put on gloves and we fight inside the gym, and may the best man win. So I ended up fighting one of his students, and I was kind of putting it on him, beating him up a little bit. And he said, "Why don't you join my martial arts class?" I said, "So what? So I can learn how to get beat up?" He said, "No, how about for discipline?" And I said, "What?" And so my girlfriend was there at the time, who later became my wife. She said, "Maybe you need discipline. You know, you don't go to church, so maybe you need to do something with discipline." So I thought about it, and I came back and I joined the class for a workout on a Thursday night back in the day, and I kind of enjoyed it. I enjoyed the physical contact, so I ended up coming back to the class more and more. And next thing I know, I got hooked.
Okay, now, Chicken, were you still training in boxing when you were doing your karate with Jim Kelly, or did you quit boxing?
No, I did boxing also. I would do boxing, and I was running track. I was very athletic. And so I started. Kelly said there was a tournament coming up about 2 weeks after I started, and he asked how many wanted to go to the tournament. And I raised my hand. He said, "Man, you're crazy." He said, "You just started." I said, "Yeah, but I want to fight. I would love to fight." So he took me to the tournament, and I ended up taking the second place. And he pulled me to the side. He talked to my mom, and he said, "This guy's got incredible talent. What we like to do is train him." So my mom said, "Well, take him." And so Jim Kelly started working with me. He would pick me up weekly, take me to some of his workouts also. He was a brown belt at the time. And I would go watch him work out, and then he would take me to LA, and we would fight against Chuck Norris's students. And I said, "Wow, I love this." So I got involved in it, and I got, like I said, I got hooked. And next thing I know, I was going to Four Seasons, Mike Stone's tournament, Chuck Norris's tournament, and Chuck. We would, just go to LA for San Diego to compete. So I said, "I'm gonna put San Diego on the map. I like this." And so I got involved, like I said. Next thing I know, I competed, and I moved from San Diego to San Francisco, and I got hooked up with a guy by the name of Clarence Lee, Okinawa style, and Duke Moore, Butoku Kai. And I ended up competing in the Bay Area a lot because they have lots of tournaments up there. I mean, really, it's just a martial arts haven. And so I could be.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Since you were around Norris, now you're talking 1972, right?
Yeah, 1972 is when I opened my first own studio.
Oh, so what year were you with Kelly and Norris, doing stuff with Norris and Kelly?
No, I was fighting against Norris.
What year were you fighting against Norris?
But that was back in '65.
So through Jim Kelly, of course, everybody's got to ask you, did you meet the master himself, Bruce Lee?
No, I never met Bruce Lee. He came to a tournament. I competed in Long Beach Internationals, and I had won the brown belt division there. And he was doing a seminar or a demonstration that night, but I had to fight in the finals. So I went to my room and rested. And so I missed him. I missed his demonstration.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, he was right there at Long Beach International. Everybody goes to Long Beach.
Hey, Chicken, quick question, man. So you were training under Jim Kelly before he became a movie star. Like, what did you think when you started seeing him in the movies in the 70s and stuff?
Oh, man. Jim Kelly was my man. He was like my mentor, a big brother to me, kept me out of trouble because, like I said, I was headed in the wrong direction and hanging out, with guys hanging out in the park, gangs and stuff like that. But he pulled me to the side. He said, "You can do something better with your life." And so he introduced me to martial arts.
Nice. What style of karate were you training under him?
Okinawa Shorin Ryu.
Okay.
Yeah, Okinawa Shorin Ryu. Yeah, 1965, 1966.
Okay. And then so then you went to Oakland, you started doing tournaments in the Bay Area.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you got heavily involved with Kenpo Karate at one point too, right?
Yes, I did. When I came back from the Bay Area and in San Francisco, I was having problems not getting disqualified because I boxed. And every time I would compete, if a guy got a point on me, I would try to knock him out. You know, I thought it was about knocking people out. And so I got disqualified a lot in the Bay Area, and they kept me from competing in the tournaments. So I moved back down to San Diego. I told my mom and dad, "Hey, I want to go back to San Diego because, you know, I'm not liking it up here in the Bay Area." I lied. You know, actually, I would want to come back and compete and get back with Jim Kelly. So I came back to San Diego and started training in the tank sudo style with a guy by the name of Lloyd Francis. Then later, I hooked up with Richard Willett, who was head of the Tracy's organization here in San Diego. And I met Al Tracy, Jim Tracy, and so I ended up opening up a studio in 1972 under the Tracy's organization.
Gary, were you saying something?
Yeah, you talk about Lloyd Francis, Master Francis?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
I know
sir.
very well. My
Yes.
teacher, all of them, they're all students under my teacher.
Yes.
Master Fred Kenyon. You know Fred Kenyon.
Fred Kenyon, yes, sir. And John Lee.
Yes. Yeah, I know
Yes.
all of them. Yeah.
Hey, Brian, can you put up Antonio? Antonio's got the best comments. Can you put up his comment from 12:05 p.m.? And I want to go over a couple of his other questions too. Okay, so Chicken, Antonio says, Master Chicken, can you share with us a memorable moment from your days competing in full contact, semi-contact, and forms karate championships in the 1970s and 1980s?
Sure. I was watching a guy by the name of Steve Fisher back in the day. And there was a lot of people that were saying that you wouldn't be good at all phases of martial arts, like form, semi-contact, and full contact. And I said, the devil is a lie. I'm going to win all of them. And so I competed in forms. My most memorable occasion in forms was St. Petersburg, Florida, where I won the Eastern Grand Nationals, and then Las Vegas, 4 seasons, where I won the forms competition 2 years in a row, U.S. Championship, and I was able to take the forms and go to places like Hawaii. And Priscilla Presley was she was my sponsor. Yeah, wow. When she was hooked up with Mike Stone.
Very cool, man. That's awesome. Now, did you prefer to compete in forms or actual sparring matches?
I did it all. Because they said you can't do it all, and I said I'm gonna prove to the people that you can do all things, you know, if you put your mind to it. But my innovator was Joe Louis, and I did point karate. And like I said, I was getting disqualified a lot because I had a bad ego. And I would try to hurt people if they scored on me. And they showed me how to point fight. So after Joe Louis showed me how to point fight, I started winning everything. Brown belt and then black belt. And I started traveling. People started inviting me to their tournaments. And then the full contact came. I said, wow, this is what I want.
Mhm.
So I got involved in full contact, and Lewis helped me get my skills together, my techniques together, so I could do full contact, and which I did real well. Ended up going to Tokyo, Japan, and that's when full contact was just being introduced, and I got a chance to travel with people like Benny the Jet Urquidez, and got a chance to go to Tokyo. I got a third round knockout over there. So I came back and just started winning everything.
Nice. Hey, here's another cool question from Antonio.
Sure.
He says, how did your blistering fast sticks and kicks become your signature moves, and what kind of training did it require to master them?
I was more involved in power, but Joe Louis taught me how to fight smart, not hard. So I learned how to be a follower first of all and follow instructions because Joe Louis didn't take no stuff either, So he would show me things, blistering, California blitz we call it, and so it became part of my arsenal, and he helped me to improve my skills. People like him, and then a lot of your top competitors came from out of Los Angeles and the Bay Area. So I hooked up with a lot of them and did a lot of sparring, a lot of training.
Look, can I ask you a question there, Chicken?
Sure.
Did you find the jab was very effective? Did you use the jab in full contact?
Definitely. Jab is one of the most, I think, useful weapons in full contact. Point karate, you can use the jab or you can change it to a back knuckle. And Joe Louis had what they call a whipping back knuckle. So I would use that, and I would use it in different ways. But the front hand, the lead hand, and later came out to be proven when I had Steve Nasty Anderson, who has one of the best back
I haven't
knuckles.
heard that name in years. Steve
Yes,
Nasty
sir.
Anderson. Oh man,
Yes.
we're going back. Did he
Yeah, that's
call
my
up your
student.
house at all? Did he play any games with you before the fight? Because I know he was known for calling up and saying your family member got in a car accident and all kinds of
Yeah,
crazy.
he would do all that stuff. He would mess with fighters. He would talk to fighters in the ring, and a lot of people felt intimidated by some of the things that he said. But he was good, But he became the Muhammad Ali of point karate.
They did. Yeah. And let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So this is interesting. I work a lot with Tim Witherspoon, and
Yeah.
he was Muhammad Ali's sparring partner. And we
Right.
talked a lot about the slapping. We actually did a video on how it's very similar to a back fist. And I
Exactly.
was kind of interested in hearing whether you made that connection between that slapping,
Exactly.
jab, and using it in full and point.
Yeah, Lewis showed me that. It's called a whipping back knuckle.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, people like Lewis used it. I watched him, and I tried to take it and put it into my sparring because I'm a lightweight. And in lightweight division, you got to be fast. It's not like heavyweight. So you got to learn how to take off initial move, how to explode off the line, and how to get your point. And the name of the game in point karate is hit and don't get hit. So I learned how to use that whipping back knuckle, lead hand strike, jab, straight jab, and follow up with a body shot, things like that. That would get me points. So I would my goal was to beat people 5-0. I wanted to hit them 5 times and not get hit anytime.
Nice. Here's another great question from Antonio.
Sure.
He says, as the founder of the United Karate Federation, what inspired you to establish this organization, and what impact do you hope it has on the world of martial arts?
Well, with the UKF, what happened was we had, and I don't mean to sound racist, but a lot of people that were black were winning, and a lot of people were going through a lot of discrimination in tournaments. So I used to train in my mom's garage And I used to take the guys from the hood and train them in the garage. I said, I'm going to take these guys and we're going to win everything. So I took about 5, 6 black guys from the hood and some that wanted to change their life around, that were looking for a more productive, positive way of living. And I was going to college at San Diego State. So I said, look, if you guys put down your guns and stop selling dope, I'll work with you. And so that's what happened.
Nice. There's a very influential known martial artist that was doing great in competitions back in the day that talked about, some of the racial problems. Have you ever crossed paths with Grandmaster Vic Moore?
I never did, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, he was dominating back in the day, man.
Yeah, Big Moore was a great fighter. And, again, I put him in the same level as Joe Louis, because Joe Louis didn't take no stuff, and he would tell it like it is. And I used to tell him all the time, when I took my black belt test, I had to fight Joe Louis. He was the last one I fought. You have to fight 5 guys. But I used to always tell him, can't no white boy beat me, man. And he said, what? I said, can't no white guy beat me, man. And so when I took my test, I was sparring him in Oceanside. And he said, hey, man, I've been working with you. And I heard you say, can't no white guy beat you. I said, it can't. Man, and that guy hit me so hard.
I heard stories that people have said when they were hit by, he was one of the hardest hitters. That
guy could hit hard, Gary. That guy had a body shot and a back knuckle and a side kick. During my test, he cracked 2 of my ribs, kicked me through some swinging doors, and I ran back in the room after I went out off the floor, and he said, hey, you still think ain't no white guy beat you? I said, I know you can't. The match is not over. Let's go. He said, so he told my sister, my oldest sister, that guy's crazy. One day he's going to win the championship because he got guts.
Hey, Brian, can you go up one question from Antonio at 12:15 p.m.? All right, Antonio's asking, what lessons did you learn from your mentor, Dick Willett, and how did they shape your approach to teaching and training in martial arts?
Dick Willett introduced me to an occupation of what I could do with something that I love. The Tracy's organization introduced me to the business. They showed me.
Chicken, you gotta put your camera down a little bit. We're seeing.
Okay. There you go. All right. I'm getting excited. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm reliving the past. Yeah, so I got involved with Dick. Dick was a businessman. I used to teach for Dick. And Dick was a very, very loving character. He was a very loving teacher. And when I couldn't afford lessons, I was going to San Diego State College. He would work with me, and I would teach for him to pay for my classes. And that went well. So I used to look at his books, and I said, this guy is making $3,000 a week, So I told him, I want to open up a studio. I want to do karate. So he said, look here, I'm going to send you to Newark, New Jersey with the Tracy's organization, which was a franchise then. And we're going to have you do the business training. And when you come back, we're going to open. And I passed by a building one day. I said, and I told my ex-girlfriend, my ex-wife, hey, that's the building. I'm opening a studio. So I stopped by, got the information, and I called the landlord, and I opened up a studio in National City. And so the studio opened up in, I think it was October 1972. And I started making money, bought a house, and I said this stuff is going. So I took those same guys that helped me get started with my studio. And I told them if they helped me with my studio, I would help them open up one. So we started opening it up, and we changed the name from Tracy's because I was paying royalties. I said I could do this better than this because I'm the one going to tournaments and doing the fighting. So we changed the name from Tracy's to United Karate Federation. And it was mainly because we want to unite people in the community.
How many schools did you have, Chicken?
We had 5 schools. One in Nashville City, which was the head school, Chula Vista, San Diego, Encinitas, and University Avenue. Yeah, we had 5 schools. So we came together as brothers, and we formulated the UKF, United Karate Federation.
Nice. Here's another cool question from Antonio. You've trained numerous world, national, and regional karate champions. What qualities do you look for in your students, and what do you believe sets apart a champion fighter?
First of all, respect and love and loyalty is the most important thing, because when people get black belts, they get big-headed. And so I find that's the downfall for most organizations. They start splitting up. Once they get a first degree, they think that they're Bruce Lee, you know? So I found loyalty and traveling together and having a family foundation. So we had a family foundation. And the things that we did, for example, I sent you some pictures of our first annual award banquet. I reached back in the past, brought Jim Kelly out, Steve Saunders, and he was another inspiration to me with the Black Karate Federation. So Steve, he's helped me and inspired me over the years to formulate that United Karate Federation. And when I ever have problems, I call him Big Papa. I call him Big Papa. And that's Steve Sanders, Steve Muhammad now. The body for nights. So with the Black Karate Federation, matter of fact, they became our biggest rivalries. But, you know, we became to a place where they couldn't deal with us either. So in competition, we were rivalries, but guess what? It made us better and made them better. And even today now, they still come all the way down to San Diego for our banquet. But like I said, I sent you some pictures of Jim Kelly, Steve Saunders, Mike Stone, and people like that have come out and supported us. So I think loyalty and giving back is the key.
Nice. Yeah. And competition can certainly bring out the best in someone for sure. No doubt.
Sure.
Another great question here from Antonio. Could you share some insights into your training methods and philosophy that have contributed to the success of fighters like Steve, Nasty Anderson, and others?
Yes. I think philosophy has a lot to do with it. And I think that consistency is the key. Steve Nasty Anderson, he got out of the military, and he ended up, like I said, we had a family organization, and he needed a place to stay. So he stayed with my mother. My mother was a good foundation and pillar to our organization. She opened up a supply store for us in my studio. But people like Steve Nasty Anderson ended up living with her, and some of my other students, she always had a door open for them. And we always spent holidays together, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and again, never quitting, never giving up. Steve, I would call Steve sometimes on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I said, Steve, are you coming over to the house for dinner? He said, Chicken, you know what I do? You know, I'm at the studio. He trained relentlessly. Holidays, weekends, and he was just consistent. And that's all of our martial arts. We had that type of drive. So, you know, I trained. Yes.
Where is Steve now? I've not heard his name in decades.
Steve passed away.
Hmm.
Yeah, he passed away. He ended up having some type of respiratory problem, and he has a couple of videos and talked about some of the things he was going through. But he ended up passing away about 4 years ago.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, yeah, he
Bummer.
has a beautiful daughter though. She's picking up the pieces. She's in Canada, and he has a set of twins that live in Canada, and he has a beautiful girlfriend, and she trains in martial arts. But yeah, Steve was an inspiration to our organization.
Hmm. Here's another great question here from Antonio.
Sure.
Can you explain your soft flowing hands that are often compared to the movements of calligraphy and swordsmanship? Hey, Brian, you just moved his question in the middle
Yeah,
of the reading.
reframe that question.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, he said, can you explain your soft flowing hands that are often compared to the movements of calligraphy and swordsmanship? And how do you integrate these elements into your martial arts practice?
Well, I would say it's a combination of both because I studied hardstyle like Tang Soo, Okinawa. Okinawa was more of a medium, it's and then when I got into Kempo, Kempo was the hardest of the soft and the soft of the hardest. So what I would do was integrate that into my form, and I would try to make that stuff work for me in competition. So I didn't have any problem nor fears about trying stuff. So I would try stuff. I seen it done in forms. I said, I'll make this stuff work in the ring.
Nice.
Now let me ask you: Did you study Goju?
No, I never studied Goju.
You know the philosophy behind that's interesting because Goju is hard and soft. So
Right. Okay.
and softness and blends it.
I know
Here's
people
another
that were
question
in
from
Goju, but I
Antonio.
never studied.
Here's another question from Antonio.
Sure.
How do you approach balancing the physical and mental aspects of martial arts training? And what role does mindset play in achieving success in competitions and life?
Mindset, I would say, is this: to keep your cup empty, first of all. Be willing to learn. No, don't be afraid to expand your horizons. And, don't be afraid to learn. Like I said, like Nasty would always say, he would watch people and people that competed. And he said if he seen something that he liked, he didn't care what style it was in. He didn't care whether you were Baptist or Methodist. He would take it and use it. And that's what made Steve really good. I think that's what made our organization really good because we communicated with other people and we weren't too proud to take techniques and use them.
Yeah, that's great. Here's another question here. As a Hall of Famer and member of the Who's Who in the martial arts, what do these accolades mean to you personally, and how do you continue to push boundaries in the martial arts world?
Well, what I do now, I had a mild stroke in January of last year, and I thought I was through with money. But you know what? I've always had the spirit of not giving up. And the who's who in martial arts is I I I I try to stay humble first of all, and I don't want to ever get too big headed that I can't uh, you, get out of the thing of I can't do anything. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I think it has led me to a spiritual realm. And I include that in my lessons today. I'm not afraid to talk about Jesus Christ. I'm not afraid to talk about spiritual enlightenment. So I think it's taken me to where I need to go today. And I'm doing what I love to do. And now I'm getting ready to try to open up a 501c where I can, have a thing for kids that are doing home study, for example. You know, they don't have PE. They don't have physical exercise. So I'm using the studio that I'm at now to open up doors for kids to come together and eliminate gang warfare and violence in the community and drug dealing.
Yeah, that's great. It kind of comes all back full circle because that's
Sure. That's where I
like
started.
back in the day you were trying to get some of these guys, with the karate federation, get them off the street, and do some
Right, exactly.
good stuff. And Brian, you should listen to what he said. Rewatch that clip of the video. You got to find Christ in your life. But anyway,
Yes.
here's another great question from Antonio.
Sure.
What role do you believe martial arts can play in promoting physical and mental well-being, especially in today's fast-paced society?
I believe that martial arts is an excellent vehicle. It's like a car you can ride in. It can take you any place you want to go. And with like I said, being humble, it can teach you humility, and it can teach you, accomplishments like belts, for example. Some people get belts so they can do what? Increase their ego. But I believe that belts are climbing or stepping stones for how a person could go to higher levels of achievement in their life, whether it be education, whether it be music, whether it be painting or poetry. You can use this martial arts as a vehicle to get to where you want to go.
100%. Hey, Gary, did you want to say one last thing
I want
here?
to say a couple of things real quick. I trained chickens black belts, and they are from the hood, and I didn't. And he's right. There was some racism at the time, but I love black people. My grandmaster is black, Charles Dixon. You know who Charles Dixon is? Chicken, and I adopted an 8-year-old black son, and most of my friends are black, so I'm Jewish. I have not a problem. I accept the black community, but yeah, in the old days there was some racism, and blacks had a great skill. My best students were Asians and blacks. They were the top fighters I've ever had in my school. And I enjoyed taking some of Chicken's students that cross-trained and came to me. And I love this guy. I witnessed Chicken. I see what he do in the tournaments from my own eyes. He's freaking amazing. Yeah, Vic Moore is a good friend of mine. I actually broke a fight with Bob Wall and Bill Wallace. I got in between those two guys once. And Bob Wall loved Chicken. He said, bring him to my house. He has a lot of he remembers Chicken in the tournaments. He is a witness, and I'm a witness. I'm one of the living witnesses who watched Chicken fought in the tournament circuit. He is a true legend. That's why I asked him to be my pastor for my dad's funeral. When my dad died, I honored him. I love this guy. So that's all I got to say.
Great, Gary, and thanks for introducing me to him. I got to ask though, man. Like, did you just say you stopped a fight between Bill Wallace and Bob Wall?
That's correct.
Like, what happened?
And Vic Moore was right there. He saw it. Some jealousy or have something to do with women. It goes back a long time ago. And so Bob got mad at Bill, and next thing I know I got in. Come on, guys, let's not do this now. It was at a tournament. It was years ago, and Eric Lee, I think, was there, and but Vic Moore was right there in front of that situation. So
Vic Moore probably smoked all of them.
Yeah.
Here's another great question, Chicken, from Antonio.
Sure.
What do you consider to be the most misunderstood aspect of martial arts, and how do you address these misconceptions in your training?
I would say, well, that's an interesting question. I would say the most misunderstood training in martial arts is, again, it goes back to racism and what style is the best, and having closed minds and working together, and I would say losing the sight of God, and worshiping man. So I would say that would be my biggest biggest flaw that I see in martial arts. You can't lose the sight of God.
Okay. Wow, there's so many more great questions. How about this one at 12:34 from Antonio? See the one at
Okay.
12:34 p.m., Brian? Okay, this one. How do you approach the mental preparation and visualization techniques with your students to help them excel in competitions and overcome performance anxiety?
I try to keep it as real as possible. I have kids and I have men, I have women, and all of them are not the same. All of them can't do the same thing. Some are kickers, some are punchers, some are good grapplers, So I try to locate what their personal ability is and try to enhance it and help them to grow in that area. And whatever it is they're weak, tell them that, you got to work twice as hard on that, but you have to be well rounded. You have to be able to be instructed. And that's the biggest key right there. You have to be able to be taught.
Yeah, you got to be coachable. That's key to
Yes,
life.
sir, coachable. Right.
And that goes with the keep your cup empty thing you mentioned.
Yes, sir. You got to keep your cup empty.
Another great question, 12:36 p.m., Brian. From Antonio, big surprise. Antonio's freaking awesome. Okay, looking back on your illustrious career, what are you most proud of accomplishing, and what legacy do you hope to leave behind for future generations of the martial arts?
Don't be afraid to try. When I went to Japan, they asked me, Chicken, would you go to Japan and fight? I said, I'll go any place because I did bodyguard work with Muhammad Ali when he was speaking to the college tours, and I got a chance and I could call people like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad, I only had about 8 fights. They lied and said I had 16. But I was getting ready to fight this guy who had about 400 fights in Japan. They fight every week over there.
Wow.
And so I said, should I accept the fight? And he told me, never accept a fight you can't win. So I called the promoter back, and I had to fight a guy in Japan. He had 400 fights. And I said, yeah, I'll take the fight. And so I ended up accepting the fight, and I got my ribs bruised right before going. But people use politics. They use people to beat you. They set you up sometimes. You have to watch out for the business world, just like boxing. And so but I didn't go over there to lose, but I had to train. I had to back the fight off and tell them, look, I can't. And they threatened me. You got to come. You got to fight on the day that you said. I said, I can't do it. Ali said, find a way out, but don't never go in there hurt. So it's people like Muhammad Ali that would give me inspiration. Also, Steve Saunders, like I say, Joe Louis. And so I would listen and I would learn about the fight game. And all fights are not good fights. So you have to be wise as a serpent with the heart of a dove.
Okay. Hey, here's a cool question because you mentioned that dude in Japan had like 400 fights. So
yeah,
one controversial figure in the martial arts world, Frank Dukes, people will say they don't believe him because he had over 300 fights. Like, do you know Frank Dukes?
I met Frank Dukes, yes.
What do you think about him and his Kumite claims? Because you have a big fight experience in history.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't know that much about him. I don't want to say anything bad in this interview about him. But, sometimes people, they don't give you, everybody's not telling the truth. Especially in martial arts. I met a lot of people, and some people lie.
It's funny you say that because it reminds me, I spent 12 years in the Army, and we all like to embellish our careers a little bit to make it seem a little bit more exciting, and, more bravado in there than there really was.
Yeah.
So I guess the martial arts world can be the same at times.
Another cool question from Antonio, by the way.
Sure.
As a lifelong learner in martial arts, what areas or techniques are you currently focusing on improving or mastering?
My techniques are sharpening the skills that I've already got, and learning to look back at some of the things that got me to where I am. I was just looking at Angular Attack with Joe Lewis. And then I listened to people like Bill Wallace that gives you knowledge on how to set your kicks up. You know, again, I try to empty my cup and fill it every day. And I try to learn from people and not get too big headed and too full of myself that I can't learn. And then I take it and I'll take it like I'm getting ready to go today to teach. And I use it in my teaching skills. I want to sharpen my skills as far as teaching and how to love people. And most of all, what can I do for my children today because of the violence, and be able to talk to them as I teach, minister to them as I teach, preach to them as I teach, not preach, but be preachy, but as I teach so they can have a better life.
Very cool. Here's another cool question from Antonio. He asks, how do you navigate the intersectionality of racism with other forms of oppression or discrimination, such as sexism, homophobia, or classism?
Well, we have, when you have two people, you're already going to have two different visions. And when you have two people, we call it, you either identify with one vision. I try to stay in the Bible, okay, the beginner's instruction before leaving earth. And I try to stay with my God that I serve and let him lead me. I can't let man lead me because I wouldn't be where I am today. A lot of people told me that I wouldn't be able to win the fight in Japan. A lot of people told me I wouldn't be able to win forums in Las Vegas. A lot of people told me, but I believed in God and I believed in myself. And so I think that's my biggest thing.
That's nice. Real quick, Chicken, why do you think there's so many doubters? Like, I have a lot of doubters and people that don't believe. Like, for example, I got this fight on March 9th. Some people didn't even think I would ever get this fight. This is celebrity boxing. This is actually going to be streamed on Triller. Celebrity boxing actually just signed a 5 event deal with Triller. So, and I'm the main event. But people people didn't think I'd be able to do movies. I was a lead in this movie. Why do you think there are doubters out there in general?
Well, because they have a problem, first of all, with their self. You do what God has called you to do. And I just want to leave you with this. You're perfect for your purpose. And you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. There's nothing too hard. You just got to get out there and do it. The problem with most people is they never accomplish nothing because they don't do it. But you got to have faith. And you're on that poster right now because God has put you in a position to step out away from the crowd. So you do what God calls you to do.
Definitely. It's interesting too, because, I had actually tore my bicep last year and it was a setback, and for me, it was like, oh, this is a test from God. Like, how bad do you want this fight? Like, how hard are you going to fight just to get the fight and do the fight? Well, pretty damn hard.
That's right.
Yeah, Brian, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that I like what you're saying, Chicken. I always tell David, for me in life, everybody's a bundle of psychological issues. Most of, unfortunately, we're always dealing more with the negative side of people.
Yes.
And, life is about how you navigate each person's psychological bundle.
Right.
And you got to remember that when you deal with people. And you do that through faith. Both you and David do it through your belief in God. And God gives you your kind of framework and how to do that. But everybody out there who criticize David or criticize you, there's something more to that. It's a bundle of psychological issues. And some are a poor mix.
That's right. That's right. And I think it's important because I believe this, like the fight in Japan, I always go back to that. That guy told me he was going to knock me out and he was going to beat me and he was going to break my legs. And they laughed at me when I went there because I got small frame in my leg department. And he said, no wonder they call you chicken. Look how skinny your legs are. But guess what happened? Third round, I broke his leg. Wow. So Yeah, I ended up breaking his femur bone and coming back, being one of the first 39 people to do Muay Thai kickboxing in Japan. I came back fighting with people like Benny. Benny and myself discussed God before the fight, 3 days before the fight, and he told me there was a purpose. And guess what? Came out in my favor. Well, it wasn't my favor. It was because of my belief in what God said I could do.
Nice, nice. And we got a really cool question coming up, but real quick, Vegas Glaive, thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. Guys, check his channel out on YouTube. He's a content creator. And so Brian, can you go to the next question here? Last man standing. This is an old friend, Nick. This is actually really cool. He actually found me because of the YouTube channel, funny enough. He's got a question, Chicken.
Sure.
What made you, or how did you find Christ? And what is your testimony, and how did it tie in with the martial arts?
Well, my testimony is this. To be honest with you, I started winning everything. I was a young guy coming up, 22, 23. I bought a house through the use of martial arts, and I thought that I was a bag of chips and a soda pop. And I started thinking that I'm more than what I was and who I was. And I got involved in the wrong walk of life. I got involved in drugs. I got involved in womanizing. And I said, hey, you know, I got it going on. And then I had run into some encounters. You know, I got shot 7 times. And I had some problems with my marriage. And so I had to learn how to humble myself. I had to learn how to be the guy that God called me to be, the one that started in martial arts, because I started thinking that I'm more than what I was, and I found out that I can do nothing without Christ.
Well, that's nice to hear. By the way, we got the 2-time heavyweight champion of the world left a comment here. Terrible Tim Witherspoon's in the house.
All right.
Hey, Tim. You got to show up for this fight in Atlantic City, man. You don't live that far, so I want to see you
there. He's gonna be David's bodyguard. You got to be his bodyguard. There's
all kinds of people coming out, man. Getting a lot of support.
Tim, how you doing?
You know Tim Witherspoon, Chicken?
I don't know him, but I know him now.
Yeah.
Well, you spent time with Muhammad Ali, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Tim was his sparring partner. You know,
yes, sir.
He talks about his time with Muhammad Ali. It's interesting. I've met so many people now who knew 2 of my heroes, Bruce Lee and Muhammad the great Muhammad Ali. So it's
beautiful man. Beautiful man.
Shout out to Vegas Glaive, another $5 super sticker. We got a raise, Brian. It went from $2 to $5. So thanks so much, dude. Really appreciate the support, man.
Yeah, you got to give him some more. David's got to take me to the Uzbek restaurant up here. Oh, Samarkand.
Oh yeah,
right.
We got to get more donations.
And best food in the world. We'll have to get Tim to come. We need more big tips. Tim's a big eater.
And then the comment under that from Antonio, excited about March 9th. Hey, Antonio, man, if you could make it, I know you got a lot going on. Antonio, he's in Florida, by the way. But, dude, if you could make it to Atlantic City, that would be incredible. Love to see you there. But if not, you better buy that Fight on Triller, dude. Yeah. Well, we're about to wrap this up, guys. If you got any last questions for any of us, especially Chicken, who is our guest, this was a great honor. I'm glad Gary introduced us. It's really cool to get your story. But honestly, all the wisdom and insight you shared, like this is stuff that I love. You know, this is why I love talking to like older, more experienced martial artists, because they're just more experienced on life in general. So I love hearing all that knowledge and wisdom.
You know, it's funny because I was getting ready for this interview, getting ready this morning, and my landlord named Frank Galeno, he said, man, it's funny that your initials are OG. I said, yeah, I'm an OG, man, original gangster, you know? And so I thank God for the name Chicken, and it works good, and I'll tell you why. because students come to me sometime in tears, and they said, I said, what's wrong with you? They said they call me chicken. I said, why? Because I wouldn't smoke marijuana with them. And then another student might come to me crying. I said, what's wrong with you? They call me chicken because I wouldn't join the gang. I said, well, guess what they call me? They said, oh, that's cool, man.
You know,
Hey,
here's
What's
inspiration.
what's
Give
my
yourself a
favorite?
name that can be kind of derogatory so people know, look, I carry the name around with me so I can show you strength, you know?
Yeah,
yeah, that's
so they wrote an article, smile when you call him chicken.
Mm. And
Yeah.
Vegas Slave said chicken is very wise and almost like a modern day Yoda, which I agree with, which is really cool. One last question before we wrap this up. Antonio, he said, did you know or ever compete against Big Jim Williams on Chuck Norris's team?
Big Jim Williams. I haven't. Maybe Tim Weatherspoon has.
Yeah, it sounds like he'd be more in Tim's weight class, man.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't, nobody wants to deal with Tim's overhand right.
Oh,
Remember,
no.
That's right.
John the Dragon Wilson had talked about with Tim about having an exhibition, and he never really saw a lot of Tim's fight. And he said, then I did research on him. I watched that
Sure.
over it. I wanted nothing to do with him. I want nothing to do with Tim after that.
No. And we got to
And
find
you
both
know-
of those guys in exhibition, by the way.
And it's something that you bring it up because back in the day, we had the lightweight for grand champion had to always fight the heavyweight to win the grand champion. So I learned from Joe Louis how to hit and not get hit. I would get my points and run.
Nice. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
Thanks again so much for joining, Chicken. I
God
do want
bless
to
you.
mention next week's episode, and a lot of people have been requesting this guy. We're going to have Anthony Cummins, the ninja guy. So he'll be live with us next week at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure you guys join us next Saturday.
Okay.
Somebody joined my channel. I only got 177 or 76 subscribe. Trolls are welcome, by the way. Everybody come over to join that thing. I want to get
you can
monetized
watch these
somewhere.
same lives on Brian's channel. So definitely support him, subscribe to him, and then watch him there too.
Yeah, help me out.
Well, gentlemen, I wish you the best on your channel. I wish you the best on your fight coming up, young man. And look, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Do what God has put you here to do and do it well.
Appreciate it, Chicken. Will do. I'm on a mission.
All right, you're on assignment. That's right.
All right. Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
guys, you ready? We'll talk. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.